How do you see the outlook for the P&I market?
Well, I think we've had a relatively benign renewal in the sense that most of the clubs were looking for fairly moderate increases, and I think those were generally achieved. I think one of the factors that's coming out of that renewal, which has a bearing on next year and the years beyond that, is that although claims seem to be relatively benign, which I guess is not surprising given the depression in shipping activity, the values continue to rise and rise and rise, and this is going to have a significant bearing, I think, on club finances over the next year or so. I think coupled with that, there is the issues of reinsurance and obviously regulatory issues as well. So it's reasonably plain sailing insofar as the clubs and their financial health are concerned, but the external drivers are still problematic. And of course the overriding problem is the fact that most ship owners are hurting and hurting very badly, and that remains an industry problem and therefore a P&I problem.
Are the Rena and Costa Concordia losses market-changing events?
Well, I can only speak from a P&I perspective. I can't comment to the impact it may or may not have on the whole market. But clearly, claims or potential claims of the values that are being suggested are clearly going to change the perceptions of the risks that not only big passenger vessels bring, but also big container vessels bring, indeed shipping as a whole brings. And I think that from that perspective, I think we must anticipate that reinsurance costs are likely to go up. In that sense, it's market changing. But I think also that the clubs themselves will take a long, hard look at how much retention they themselves take, how much the pool takes, and indeed whether or not the sort of traditional way of buying reinsurance through the effectively London market primarily merits continuation when there may be alternative solutions that have a more contemporary attraction. So I think, yes, they will be market changing, but I suspect the short-term market change will merely be rate-oriented. The longer prognosis might be more significant in terms of how the reinsurance is structured in the future. Well, I think just quickly starting with the P&I clubs, I mean, that continues apace. I mean, Solvency II has enormous ramifications in terms of corporate governance and the like, and it's taking up an enormous amount of time, particularly senior management time, amongst the P&I club managers in ensuring that they are compliant. I think more critically, the external regulation, the maritime legislation around the world continues to be more and more stringent on ship owners. And just recently, in fact in the last 10 days, the IMO announced that the 1996 Convention on the Limitation of Liability in Maritime Claims is going to be changed, largely at the instigation of Australia, who strongly feel that the current limits are woefully too low given inflation and the value of claims these days. It has been accepted in principle that from 2015 the liability limits will go up by 50%. Now, that's a significant amount of money, and when one considers, therefore, that the reimbursement for those claims will now come from the P&I clubs, I think tying some of these questions together, the sort of medium-term prognosis is possibly not as rosy as at first sight at the moment, in that the claims exposure is actually literally going to go up by 50% within 3 to 4 years, and I think that needs to be addressed and needs to be publicised. It has rather escaped people's attention, and I think it is a very significant driver over the next few years.